Welcome to Storytime with the Intimacy Ally. Each episode will tear down a myth, kick a social norm in the beanbag, gut punch a sex ed untruth, or destroy a poorly constructed relationship expectation. Get ready to unlearn all the crap you accepted as fact. Strap in for a mind-blowing revision on what sex is and what it can do. Prepare yourself for a whole new thought pattern when it comes to modern relationships. And now, here's your host, Jenny Simas, the Intimacy Ally, relationship expert and certified sex and intimacy coach.
My lovelies, welcome back to Storytime with the Intimacy Ally. It's me, your host, Jenny Simas, the Intimacy Ally. Today I am down to the wire and almost out of time, so we're going to make this a quickie. I wanted to talk a little bit about boundaries and how having them does not make you a bitch. So let's talk about a little bit where this came from. Just having conversations with men the last few weeks, starting with a potential client who was like really mad at me for not offering services as he expected. And I just had this memory of several conversations that I've had with men about dating and about how that's going for them and how all these bitches got boundaries now. And I think it's great that all these bitches got boundaries now. I think that, one, boundaries are important. I did not have them for a really long time, or rather, I didn't have healthy ones. I let every relationship kind of suck me dry. And that included any kind of relationship. It was not just romantic, but friendships and work relationships and, even with family. I had so much on my plate. And yet I was always willing to drop everything and run out and help someone else. And it was a real problem of not being able to hold up my own boundaries and say, no, I can't do that. No, I can't do that for you. And when I went through the School of Consent like a pro training, I learned about boundaries. If you want information on that, I will put a link to the School of Consent in the show notes. But Dr. Betty Martin came up with the Wheel of Consent and created the School of Consent. And if you are interested, go ahead and Google Wheel of Consent. I am not going to post that because that is a copyrighted thing. I learned about the shadow sides of action and always making yourself a martyr and always doing things that you think other people want you to do, but they actually might not because you're just not asking. Now, some of that was a protective factor, like keeping me safe in bad relationships. But other parts of it was like mindless manipulation. So when you don't have good, clear-cut boundaries as to what you will and will not put up with and what you are or are not willing to do, you kind of get sucked into these shadow areas or these gray areas of, are you acting because somebody else is doing something, or are you acting for yourself? The question that they ask a lot is, who is this for? Now, going along with that, if you're in a relationship that is violent in any way, well, then of course your boundaries are going to be fucked up. So, honey lamb, please don't think that I'm talking down to you. Because as my friend and mentor, Michelle Renee, I will put a link to her work in the show notes as well. The Human Connection Coach. as she likes to say, or likes to remind me, you cannot have an authentic yes without a safe no. So if no gets you smacked or raped, of course you're not going to be able to shore up boundaries. I really hope that I can send out some voodoo magic that you're going to not be in that situation anymore. If you're listening to this, I want there to be some kind of way that we can get you out of there. So that's a situation where boundaries are a thing that you are not safe to have. And that fucking sucks. And there's way more to that I cannot cover in this quick rushed episode. So we're going to move past that one. And we're going to put a top on that until I can have a guest on that could talk more about that with the background to go with it, because I am not the expert in that. Now, another thing about boundaries is allowing for personal space and time in a romantic relationship is healthy as fuck. What? No way. You mean we're not supposed to be like codependent and do every fucking thing together? And just never be able to like go out without the other one? What? No way. Yes. That is a great example of having healthy as fuck boundaries. Being able to go out and do things in the world that don't involve your fucking partner. Like having your own group of friends, or being able to at least like go out and have lunch with somebody, or like go to the shooting range with somebody, and like it doesn't involve your partner. And when you get back, nobody's mad. They're like glad that you went to recharge. That's a real toughie, especially when you've got kids at home. Like, I know it's kind of like, all right, well, if you go get to have fun, that means I'm here with the kids on parent duty. And the healthiest thing, or I guess maybe the most gracious thing, is to go ahead and split those duties up and make sure that each one of you gets to have that personal space and have that time. And try to remember it around all the things you got going on for your kids. Because I know everybody's got extracurriculars, they got camps, they got sports, they got, scouts, whatever. And you're trying so hard to most likely both work and have a little time to connect every once in a while when you manage to stay awake long enough with the kids at home. And then you're like, then I'm supposed to go have personal time and space? What the fuck? Like, my personal time and space is driving back and forth to work. Like, 'cause that's what it is for a lot of us. But I think that being able to say out loud in a relationship, I need some time. I need to go to the library and just sit there and like stare at a book, or I just need to go for a fucking walk, and your partner not getting upset, asking why you would want to do that, wondering if you're cheating on them, or some other kind of like negative response. If it's met with a positive or a non-affected response, like just a neutral response, like, cool, like that's a thing that you need to do. All right. Or, yeah, honey, I want you to do that. Either one of those works. If it's negative, what the fuck? Like, we are in the world now where we know boundaries are good, and they keep us from doing things for the wrong reasons. So what the fuck? Why not use them? Okay. So one of the big things that goes through my mind is how long I thought that I was responsible for other people's feelings and emotions. Now, this is something that we definitely talked about when I got the Wheel of Consent training, but it's also something that I've learned about through my own therapy for years now. Part of it is the people pleasing that came from abusive situations. Part of it is my personality of just thinking that somehow if someone is in a bad mood around me, it has to do with me. And now I'm starting to learn that that just isn't so. And it's really hard. If my man comes in a mood, it could have nothing to do with me. It could have been somebody pissed him off in traffic. It could have something to do with, an interaction with another human, like outside our home. He could just be brooding and have some shit on his mind. But for the longest time, I automatically thought, oh shit, what did I do? And I get it. Part of it is a trauma response. But another part of it is that boundaries are hard. Boundaries are hard. And we think that we have to take responsibility for other people's emotions. And it just isn't so. Because when you do that, you're actually crossing one of their boundaries, their ability to self-regulate, their ability to come talk to you if they want to talk about what the fuck is bothering them. They don't have to. Just like you're not required to go talk to your spouse when you're having a rough day. Like you can. It can be awesome. It could be like nice and supportive. But if you don't feel like talking about it, you shouldn't have to feel like you need to, because you can have that boundary. Yeah. As far as dating goes, it just seems like what I'm hearing is a whole lot of male fragility. And that brings me to my next point. I want women who are out there like trying to meet men. Look, you are not cold or bitchy for putting up your boundaries, for putting up walls. You are not. Men are really used to being able to place demands on women once in relationship. And in relationship can mean like y'all talked a couple of times online and now he thinks that you two are gonna get, together every fucking night this week or something, right? And for you, if that's not what you're interested in or not what you're ready for right now, fuck yeah, you can say that. You can say, oh, I'm not ready for that, or I'm not interested in that. And you shouldn't have to fear the retribution of, oh, you're just a cold bitch, or, well, I think you're ugly anyway. But I want you to be prepared for it at the same time. Like you shouldn't have to deal with it, but it might happen. Because this is kind of new. Like, I know I said we should know better, but women upholding boundaries and not changing their personality or giving in to men's demands is new. It's new in the world of dating. It is not a thing that, generations of men have had to put up with. On that same token, or by that same token, the men you're dating didn't invent thinking that boundaries made a chick a bitch. Their dads, their granddads, their great granddads, they did. There's so much of the societal bullshit that I want to just fucking put in a nutcracker and crunch. There's so much of it. It's been handed down and then handed down and handed down. And yeah, maybe you have a few deviations. Maybe you have, a few guys out there who maybe saw their mom have these things happen or their sister or something. And a lot of times it does have to be an intimate relationship that they saw this shit happen. And then they're like, oh shit. Yeah, no, I don't want to be that guy. But a lot of times they're watching their dads, their uncles, their older brothers, their cousins, whatever, whoever is the influential penis haver in their lives, act like that. and then they emulate it. And then we have this continued structure that men assume that if women are going to be a good relationship partner, they're going to have weak boundaries and they're going to be able to coerce that woman into releasing or lowering those walls a bit. So, really, I could go on and on about this, but I can't. I can't today because I have to get off of here because I ran into a time crunch. Ugh, the worst. So I hope that all makes sense. I hope if you are listening to this and you've had issues with trying to keep to your values or keep to your domain and you don't want other people to cross into yours just as much as you don't want to cross into theirs. There's so many more relationships that boundaries are important in than romantic ones, like I said at the beginning. And I think that there's this whole perspective that you can only be taken advantage of, or you can only have solid boundaries when it comes to those romantic relationships. But really, they're so important in like adult child and parent relationships. They're very important in parent child relationships. I think that there's a lot of different places that this information needs to be applied that it hasn't necessarily yet, but we're working on it, right? We are going to get better at this. That's the whole idea of learning about these things and this show. So, I'm going to leave you with just a little bit of some ideas on how you could shore up your boundaries. If you are safe enough to do it, practicing saying no to things that you are not an absolute and authentic yes to. Because if it's a maybe, then it's a no. Another thing is to make it a point to every once in a while revisit the agreement that you created when you started a relationship. This happens so naturally in like kinky relationships. There's agreements always being like adjusted. But in, more traditional romantic relationships, I think that it doesn't come in all that much. And it might only happen when there's like this big life course change, like the kids move out or you adopt a child and blah, blah, blah. And then you like discuss roles and responsibilities. I think that having those frequent conversations where you just kind of do a state of the union and check in with each other on what is still okay and what's not might be helpful. And to remember that boundaries are not necessarily just for romantic relationships. So if you're constantly feeling like you're getting taken advantage of by a friend, a family member, coworker, or your romantic partner, go ahead, open up that conversation, talk about it, right? A couple of housekeeping notes. I will be presenting at the Nest Insights Forum at 12:55 p.m. Eastern on Monday, March 18th. I will be talking to empty nesters about intimacy. And the Making Online Dating Magical group coaching course comes out in April, and you can sign up by going to my website and clicking on Magical Dating. That is all I really got for you today, and I have to jet because my son's going to be home soon, and that's what's up. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you will come back again to the Intimacy Ally, where we say fuck no to the status quo. Bye, my lovelies.
Thank you for tuning in to Storytime with the Intimacy Ally. We hope you learned a bit more about putting the fire back in your romantic relationships, exploring communication and emotional readiness in all relationships, and how to expand your definition of intimacy so you can reach your relationship goals. Go to theintimacyally.com to subscribe and never miss an episode. Follow the links in the show notes to social media and events. Till next time, keep on learning, growing, and thinking. Storytime with the Intimacy Ally podcast is meant for educational and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered as health or mental health advice.